Everybody in this theater is a giant sucker, especially you!
The funny fat. Fat guys in movies, animation and even video games who we can't help but adore and admire despite their rotund form and, more often than not, aloof or awkward nature. Now before we continue further, when I say funny fats, I'm not just talking about funny people who just so happen to be fat. I'm referring to a specific type of fat guy in media. One whose weight and size is an integral part of their character and of course their choices and actions. A motivating force behind people's perception of said character and the way they view themselves. And eventually an aspect they will come to terms with, even using it to their advantage. To give an example, John Candy's character in Uncle Buck, is a funny fat guy. However, his size is hardly ever brought up or even mentioned. It's not at all relevant in terms of other characters' opinion of him, and above all else, it isn't utilised for comedic effect. Uncle Buck, and to be honest, the majority of John Candy's works, usually have a more wry and witty sense of humour.
Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face.
Whereas the trope I'm talking about usually exists in films and media with a more lowbrow slapstick style of approach. This is why Uncle Buck is not a funny fat per se, whereas someone like Kevin James's character in Paul Blart, fits the funny fat trope like a glove. In this video, I'm going to be diving into the funny fat character trope, primarily in the world of film, but other forms of media too whenever they're applicable, exploring the similar situations and circumstances these characters find themselves in, as well as why I view this otherwise lowbrow, partially insensitive trope in a positive and genuinely respectable light. So without further ado, let's jump right into the commonalities that characters falling under this trope often share. For starters, a large majority of funny fats usually run into problems when faced with social situations and interaction with other people. Issues that usually stem from their appearance, personality, or even their intelligence. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of funny fats who are just outright stupid. Which definitely isn't helping the perception of this trope in the eyes of a lot of viewers. To be fair, it's not a unanimous standard for these characters. Like I said, their issues can come from other places like awkwardness or simply just appearance and size. Regardless, it's either one of these things or a combination of these traits which makes them unsuccessful in navigating conversation and polite society. As a result, they are isolated from and rejected by their peers. The people around them look on with pity, amusement and or disappointment. This ends up being an issue that they struggle with throughout, trying desperately to gain other people's, or at least another person's approval despite whatever personal faults they themselves might have. Funny fats have to fight an uphill battle for their reputation, almost always starting out on the bottom rung, which adds a layer of relatability to these characters. No matter your size or appearance, most people don't start out being well liked right out of the gate. You have to earn other people's approval, respect and positive perception. Hell, sometimes you might already have that, but due to whatever personal problems you might have, you just don't recognise it. In the case of most funny fats, it's a struggle worth enduring because despite whatever outward issues they may have, on the inside there's a softer, kinder aspect of their personality just waiting to be shown to the people in their lives. In some cases it may not be immediately apparent. Two famous examples of this would be Shrek and Homer Simpson. Of course everyone knows deep down they are good people simply due to how ingrained they are in modern culture, but if you look at their debut in their respective films it would convince you otherwise. I mean, the first we see of Homer in the Simpsons movie is him telling us that we're all giant suckers. Then you have Shrek, who to start with seems pretty content living alone in his swamp, even angrily kicking people out who arrived without notice. On the other hand, there are characters like Baloo from The Jungle Book or the Nutty Professor whose kindness and good nature are apparent from the get-go, but still have a hard time winning over their peers for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, if all that wasn't bad enough, whenever there's a funny fat protagonist, they are almost always accompanied by a funny fat foil. The antagonist who loathes them, treating them with no respect, constantly underestimating them and undermining any and all progress or steps they take to better themselves. Funny fat foils are often portrayed being of a higher status than protagonists, whether it's in terms of class, social standing and of course appearance. They have a recognised societal edge, though as we all know that doesn't connote that you're a better individual than another, which we see time and time again in funny fat stories where the antagonists abuse their position in order to screw the protagonist and hamper their progress. They are necessary evils that emphasise what the funny fat is up against, and it makes their eventual triumph all the more satisfying. Now in all honesty, the tropes within the trope that I've talked about so far can be applied broadly to almost any form of fiction media. The idea of having the opposition to the hero be someone in a high position of power isn't exactly unique to funny fatdom. However, What is unique to the world of funny fat dudes is none other than the falling down and going boom. Whether it's running into walls, getting stuck in confined places, or simply just falling down, a little dose of schadenfreude makes for some hilarious slapstick comedy. Yeah, it's not the most classy form of entertainment, but it appeals to a more base instinct that we all have, whether we like to admit it or not. Hell, there's a reason channels like Fail Army are so popular. There's just something inherently funny about other people's small moments of misfortune. However, what separates fat guy slapstick versus fail videos and what makes the former funnier, in my opinion, is the fact that it's staged. The actors knew what they were signing up for, the animators planned out a sequence of humorous events, etc, etc, I mean, you get the point. No one is actually getting harmed here, and the fact that these unfortunate events happen to characters who are clumsy by nature, or just so happen to find themselves in awkward situations on a regular basis, just makes for some great guilt-free laughs. There are plenty of great examples to choose from. I mean, I've been showing you some of my favourites while talking about this, though funnily enough, one of my favourite examples of fat misfortune that gets me every time is a scene from The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible gets stuck in the escape pod. It's one of the rare examples of a temporary funny fat. You're gonna love it. If you've gotten this far into the video, half of you might be wondering, so what separates a good versus a bad funny fat? The other half is probably contemplating why they've gotten this far into the video, but to answer the former, I think what solidifies a funny fat into god status is the calm and somber moments and scenes which break up the consistent comedy shenanigans. These tamer moments work wonders in developing the characters beyond just being a one-note joke or punchline. Want to know why Poe is universally beloved? It's not just because of his quick-witted yet clumsy nature. It's not just because he's prone to getting himself into awkward situations at his own expense. It's also in no small part due to his personal insecurities and self-doubt. These feelings eventually reach their boiling point during his confrontation with Master Shifu. Not only do we see Poe expressing his doubts about himself, but also his frustrations with his master. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. A unique twist on the student-master relationship that also serves as an identifiable tipping point for the character. From this point forward, we see Poe finally gaining some martial arts prowess, and it's a satisfying moment for anyone invested in the movie, which, to be fair, should be everyone because it's a great film. I find that funny fats that are defined by nothing else than their size often fall short. Crab and Goyle from the Philosopher's Stone instantly come to mind. They are nothing but background simps for Draco, seemingly existing purely for that one scene where they are literally lured away by the smell of food. Now look, I get it, they aren't meant to be major antagonists or anything, but still, even the one scene they have some semblance of relevancy in isn't even funny. I'm not asking for Crab and Goyle to have major character development, but at least make the scenes that they're in actually entertaining and funny. Jabba the Hutt is an irredeemable funny fat character, but at least it's entertaining just watching him revel in it. Jabba doesn't need serious development because watching him simply enjoy being evil is really entertaining in of itself, and makes for a great foil for the main protagonists. I never thought I'd be comparing Star Wars and Harry Potter based on the funny fat representation, but here we are. What is my life? Finally, no funny fat arc is complete without the part where they prove themselves to their friends and peers, achieving their desired goal they have longingly sought after, winning the hearts of the people they love and cherish, and of course overcoming the funny fat foil. Accomplishing all of this despite their size, appearance and whatever faults that have impeded their progress thus far. Up until this point, the audience has been laughing at the expense of the funny fat character, whether they're falling down or fumbling social situations. However, at this point where the antagonist is exposed and defeated, we're all laughing at them now and their misfortune, enjoying a satisfying victory for the funny fat and celebrating their newfound success. The audience is now fully on their side, so when we see the funny fat guy save the day and win over the hearts of their peers or loved ones, they're also completely winning over us at the same time. They've proven themselves to the people inside and outside of their respective media, and in doing so rise above their blanket aspects of as a guy who just so happens to be fat. This is ultimately why I love this trope, no matter how crass it may seem from the outside looking in. Funny fat characters demonstrate that we don't have to let a physical aspect of ourselves bring us down. It doesn't have to be a driving source of negativity in our lives, and if we lighten up just a little bit, we can start to appreciate the traits that wider society have deemed to be negatives. And that applies to every physical feature across the board. Heck, even finding the humour in our own supposed weaknesses. A lot of people may view this trope as like lazy, unamusing, and at worst a tad offensive. However, I couldn't disagree more. I never found myself looking down on any of these characters. In fact, it's the polar opposite, because even with all the jokes at their expense, by the end the audience is fully on their side, wanting to see them succeed in their endeavours. We want to see Poe successfully become the Dragon Warrior. We want to see Homer do the right thing and support his family. We want to see Tommy save his dad's business, and so on and so forth. These characters wouldn't be as loved by audiences as they are if all they did was fail and get into hijinks. The cheap and easy laughs is why we come, but the depth and multi-layered facets of these lovable characters is why we stay, and what solidifies them into cultural icons and beloved classics. With that being said, that's all I have to say for this video. Like if you liked, dislike if you dislike, subscribe for more quality content, and I'll see you guys next time.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.